up so early in the morning. Can't you hear the captain shout? It's time to blow your horn.
In the last years of steam, diesels took over the railroad's passenger trains. The steam engines that used to pull them were now reassigned to pull freight. Brian had been painted orange and red when he pulled the Daylight Express train. Now he was dark gray, and though it was hard and dirty work, he did his best to be really useful. Unfortunately, the time came for Brian to be retired. He was saved from scrap and put on display in a park in Oregon. He thought people would come to take photos of him and that he would get to share stories with them. Some people did, but others didn't say anything to him. They took one look and decided he wasn't that interesting. One person even climbed up and stole his whistle. Brian began to feel even more miserable. He started to wish that he hadn't been donated. Is this really better than scrap? He wondered. But his spirits always lifted when one man came to see him. He had worked for the railroad and would always tell Brian, "I'm sure they'll realize any day now that they were wrong to retire you." He would oil Brian's joints and polish his fittings. "When that day comes," he continued, "you'll be ready." Brian appreciated him for this, and wondered if someone would ever want to bring him back. The man came every week and performed his work, and would always say, "Any day now." But one day he didn't come. Brian wondered where he was. A few more days passed, and someone else came to see him. They said that the man had passed away and wanted his family to say goodbye for him. Brian was sadder than ever now. It was a bleak, lonely time. Brian didn't want to rest in the park anymore. He wanted to stop feeling so sad, but he didn't think he could ask anyone to help him. He was sure he'd be stuck there forever. But one day, some other men came and began looking him over. "Who are you?" he asked. The men explained. They were looking for steam locomotives in good enough condition to be restored for a very special train. "You see," they said, "soon the United States of America will turn 200 years old. A special train will travel the nation pulled by steam engines." They completed their inspection and were surprised. "This engine is in excellent condition. He'll need a new whistle, but his wheels and rods are in fine shape." Brian smiled, remembering his old friend. "They finally realized," he said quietly. He was taken to an old roundhouse and restored. Then it was time to paint him. "Will I be painted orange and red like before?" he asked. "Yes, but not yet," the men replied. "For the special train, we'll be painting you red, white, and blue. It will be called the Freedom Train." Brian was excited as he was repainted. "This has to be the best job I've ever had," he said. Soon, painted in his new livery, Brian was coupled to the Freedom Train and began his tour. He stopped in many cities, and people looked at the special exhibits on board, and almost everyone wanted to talk to Brian and hear his stories. It was a wonderful time. But as he returned to his new home in the old roundhouse, Brian said one last thanks to his old friend for making it all possible.